Doobie-doobie-doo. 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 I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati. Doobie-doobie-doo. 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 I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati. Doobie-doobie-doo. Hello. What's going on, guys? Happy Wednesday. I hope you guys are in a doobie-doobie-doo mood. So I finally got that song Return of the Mac out of my head. So I was happy when I woke up this morning and realized that I didn't have that still in my head. Shout out to everyone watching on Rockfin and everyone watching on YouTube and people watching on the Twitter stream as well. I want to go ahead and shout out some people in the chat and then we'll get right into the news. What is going on? Domino effect. Elon Musk is annoying. Yes, he is. Oh, we're going to get into that. He had some things to say about this bill, which I'm sure you guys are probably tired of hearing about this bill. I want them to just go ahead and resolve this. But at this point, I feel like there's not much left in this bill. I'll get into that later on. What's going on? Pitchforks are coming. Hello, liked and shared. Thanks so much. Greetings, Lawrence. How are you? What are you doing? What's going on, Delthea Simmons? Always a pleasure to see you. What is going on, Dana? Doobie-doobie-doo. That's right, doobie-doobie-doo. What's going on, Kim? Also another doobie-doobie-doo. Shout out to Eric Thomas, who's a Sabby member. Happy Wednesday. Looks like Sabby Sabs survived the windstorm. Yeah, we're going through a nor'easter here, and it is really bad. Like, it's really bad. You know, it's bad if you're driving and the wind is blowing against your car. It was like that. And it's been like that the past 2 days. So it looks like we're finally coming out of this. Shout out to Little Rock Elevators. I'm having earworm from intro theme. What's going on, Andrew? Hello. Greetings, emoji. Can we start a trend of throwing rotten fruit at these corrupt politicians? You know, that's really interesting. I had a friend actually had that happen to her when she went to New Orleans. Yeah, she was on a church trip. What's going on, Indy Left? Always a pleasure to see you. Doobie-doobie-doo. Shout out to Where Pilgrim, the Doobie sister. All right. Let's go ahead and get into it. Welcome to Sabby Sabs Podcast. I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati. If you are new, Sabby Sabs Podcast is a part of the Fred Hampton Leftist Network. You can catch me there on Thursdays for the Roundtable and Friday for the Sabby Sabs Show. So, what are we going to talk about tonight? Let me go ahead and share my screen. Pull up here. Yeah, so a couple of things have happened. We're going to talk about the Joe Manchin hunger strike. So Joe Manchin did something very cringe. And there is a hunger strike going on and he was approached by them. So I'm going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Elon slams Dems billionaire tax. So Elon Musk did not have good things to say about the billionaire tax, which is a part of Joe Biden's bill. We're going to talk about that. And I got to tell you something else about him, too, that's new that just came out. And we're going to talk about Kyle Rittenhouse, ... not victim. So he is on trial now or having his hearing now. And the judge said something recently, and I really want to dive into that story because I want to point out the difference here when you talk about privilege in the criminal justice system. So we're going to get into that as well. Let me pop out. Indy Left, Sabby Sabs, you can click the 3 dots next to their chat and make someone a mod if you were so inclined. Oh, let's see if that works. It tells me put user in timeout or block user. I don't have that option. Wait, that's on StreamYard. Hold on. Yeah, it doesn't give me that option. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm using StreamYard. But I think Eric's in here. Is Eric in here? I thought I saw him earlier. Yeah. I don't know, Indy. I don't know. I don't know what I did. Little Rock, you want to be a mod? Oh, I can tell you how to do that. Usually how I do it is you send me your YouTube ID and then I add that ID into Studio. Okay, we'll work on it. All right, cool. Cool, cool. All right. So let's get into it, you guys, because this happened. There's two videos about this I want to show you. The first one is the one from Democracy Now! Now, I don't know about you guys. I am not a big fan of Democracy Now! Anymore because I noticed that their talking points have changed as well. They're starting to simp for Biden as well. Go figure. But they did talk about this hunger strike, and this is connected to Joe Biden. So I do want to play this video really quick. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Sharing my screen. All right. Hunger striker out of the hospital demands Biden keep all climate provisions in the Build Back Better plan. For those who don't know, that is one of the items that Biden is going to remove is the climate reform. Now it looks like there's other items that are going to be removed too. I'll get into that a little bit later, but this one is crucial. And there are a couple young people on strike and they had something to say about it. So let me mute my mic and I'm going to go ahead and play this video.
We turn now to another hunger strike hundreds of miles south in Washington, D.C., where a group of 5 climate activists have entered their 8th day without food, demanding President Biden do more to address the climate emergency. The activists have spent most of the past week outside the White House calling for passage of the full $3.5 trillion Build Back Better plan to combat the climate crisis and expand the nation's social safety net. The size of the bill has been slashed in half, in part due to opposition from Democratic Senator Joe Manchin, who's made millions of dollars in coal companies in his home state of West Virginia and is the recipient of the most oil, gas, and coal money in Senate. On Tuesday, one of the hunger strikers, Abby Leedy, confronted Manchin after he spoke at the Economic Club of D.C.
And I'm going to go ahead and stop it there because I have that video, but I have it on Twitter and it plays the full video. The one on Democracy Now! Cuts it off towards the end, and I want you to hear the end. But one of the things I want to tell you guys is that little by little, they are cutting more and more items from this. Okay, so we have the climate reform that's supposed to be cut from the Build Back Better plan. What I just found out before I got on the stream is that they're taking away the paid parental leave from, I think that's part of the reconciliation bill. So they just keep removing more and more. They're going to take away Medicare for all from that bill as well. They want to means test the free pre-K. So we are basically getting down to the point where it's not even worth it. It's not even worth it anymore. Started with 6 trillion, went down to 3.5. Now they're talking about taking it down to like 1.2 trillion. So we're losing more and more and more from it. And it's just not even worth it anymore. We needed to demand more and we should have fought harder for this. Not us personally, but progressives in Congress, they should have fought harder for this. And it's just really, it's really upsetting. It's really frustrating. They're just taking more and more away from it. So at that point, it's empty. It's empty. It's meaningless. It doesn't mean any much anymore. If you're going to cut away the things that people really mean, I mean, the free community college, that's gone. They took that away. So a lot of these things affect young people, especially with climate reform. So that is something that obviously should have stayed in. So those protesters that you just saw, they greeted Joe Manchin and they had some things to say to him. The young woman that I'm about to show you in this video, her name is Abby. She's one of the activists. I believe she's been on hunger strike for, I think it's 6 days now. And she had some things to say to Joe Manchin. So let me go ahead and play this really quick. My name is Abby. Everything I need to
You continue to block the civilian climate core, the methane emissions. Joe Manchin,
Your name?
my name is Abby.
Abby, let me tell you, we've done more in the United States of America than any other country. All the emissions coming from
Joe Manchin, if the United States of America does not cut our emissions by at least 50%, I'm going to grow up and just not stop. I have been on hunger strike. We haven't eaten for 7 days, Joe. Joe Manchin, millions of people have called your office. We have been trying to reach you for months and months because you are standing against everything I need to have a livable future. I have dreams. Young people here have dreams. And if we
You're more than
pass,
welcome.
the United States does not pass massive climate action this fall, it is too late. This is one of our last chances.
Please come to my office.
Joe Manchin, I'm talking to you right now.
We can't get in on a meeting. We've been calling. We're trying to get a meeting with you.
Knock on my office for you. You're more than welcome to, and we're happy to have you meeting.
I want to live. I want to live. Young people want to live.
Shout out to Roger Meadows for the super chat. Started at 7 trillion, should have started at 25 trillion and settle for 10 trillion. Agreed. Even the 6 trillion 7 trillion, that still wasn't enough. So just keep that in mind, that was still not enough to get the things that we need to get. And they compromised on that. And now they want to compromise again. Now it's down to like 1.2 trillion, 1.2, 1.5 trillion. So at this point, they've taken away so much from the bill. It's like not even worth it anymore. It doesn't even hold weight anymore. To the young lady that was in the video, Abby, I highly commend you. I was wrong with the days. Sounds like 7 days. I think this video was maybe 2 days old. So maybe she's on her 8th or 9th day now for the hunger strike. But what really ticked me off about this was Joe Manchin's response. It's a typical politician response to say, call my office. You know how many times I've heard politicians say that when they're approached by activists? Jim Clyburn has been on video saying that. You got Joe Manchin. Lots of them do it. Call my office. Here's what happens when you call their office. Most of the time, you never get to speak to them because most of the time they're not there. If you do get a hold of someone, they usually tell you that they'll let them know. They'll pass on the message. Doesn't mean they actually do it. Doesn't mean that they actually do it. And even if they do, that politician can choose whatever, I'm not going to pay attention to this. That's why it matters to protest and meet them face to face. Because if they run away from you in person and you have that on video, everybody sees it. Everybody doesn't see if you call them and they don't respond. If you write a letter and they don't respond. But that they can actually see. So typical politician response, call my office, come by my office. And she called him out and she told him, we've been calling your office. We've already done that. We've already tried. It's not working. Then he also tries to blame China. Now, to be fair, I looked up the emissions earlier this morning. I've done this before in the past as well. And according to the emissions report, it does show that China has more emissions than us. But that does not count for military pollution. That's the problem. It doesn't show the amount of pollution that we, the United States, do from our military, from the drone strikes, from bombing people abroad. The military is the largest polluter. And this is why I tell people, if you recycle, that's great. That's a good thing to do. But that is like pennies in a bucket compared to the harm that the military causes to the environment. That's the most significant problem. And Joe Manchin isn't going to tell you that. And Congress isn't going to tell you that. No one in Congress is going to tell you that. They don't want you to know that. They want to continue to fund the military. They want to continue to have wars because it's profitable for them. it's not profitable for them to implement climate reform. That costs money for their donors. That costs their donors money. Their donors lose money, then they don't get money. All of this is connected. The girl in the video, it just like broke my heart. Like she's like, I want to live. A lot of people just don't care about young people, man. They don't care about young people in this country. You know how many times I've heard older people say, and it's not all, but I've heard some older people say, I don't care if the planet dies. I won't be alive when it happens. Yeah, I've actually heard people say that. Really nasty stuff. It's selfish. But we do have that happen here in this country where people don't care. If they are not directly affected by it, they don't care. Shout out to Delthea Simmons for the super chat. Anyone who ever bought a car knows you don't start at your negotiation goal. If you need to pay X for the car, you don't open with that. Dems do. That is a good point, Delthea Simmons. That's a good point. It's true. My dad always negotiates. Always negotiates. But she's right about that. That's 100% true. Shout out to Roger Meadows for the super chat. Solve it with Warren's green bombs. Thanks so much for the super chat, Roger. Yeah, I mean it's one of those things where it's like he doesn't even care. For young people sitting there starving themselves, telling you that they want to live, because this is the reality. Let's be real here. This is really going to affect Gen Z. This is going to affect generations that come after them. Millennials, we may be affected a little bit, but the people coming behind us are going to be affected more. That's just the reality of the situation. And a lot of people don't care because they won't be here when it happens. It's such a selfish mentality. Joe Manchin gets approached a lot by protesters. I can't tell you the number of times I look on Twitter and another person is approaching him. He does not care. He's just going to blame someone else. Now, he'll talk to them, yes, but he'll blame it on someone else. Kirsten Sinema will run away. So you cannot tell me that you care about the youth in this country if you don't care about the climate. If you don't care about what happens to this planet, then you don't care about the youth in this country, because they are going to be the ones that will still be here when shit goes down. It's just the truth. It's the reality. We're already starting to see effects of climate change. We're already starting to see it. Shout out to the Red Precarian for the super chat. Just got here having a hot tea in your honor. Oh, thank you, Red Precarian. I got the passion tea tonight. Oh, where it is. Passion. Where'd it go? Oh, the passion tea. Tazo passion tea. If you guys like tea, you should try this one. It's caffeine free. Can't have caffeine at night. I'd be like, woo. But I get so sick and tired of politicians saying, of course we care about young people's future. Of course we care about young people in this country. Not if you're pro-fracking. You don't. And someone needs to say this to Joe Biden as well, because he is pro-fracking. You don't care about young people's future in this country if you feel that climate change is not real. You don't care about young people's future in this country if you are pro-war and you want to support the military-industrial complex. This is a reality, and let's call it out for what it is. We have people right now, Crystal and Sagar, out there being pro-war, promoting war on China. Unbelievable. But you care about the climate, but you care about the environment. Derek said, future nothing. You don't care about people's present if you support fracking. That as well. And what did Joe Biden say during the debates over and over again? I support fracking. And people applauded. People in the audience applauded for that. That is not something you need to be clapping about. It's a big problem. Big problem. Shadow Band Refugee said this bill supports the military industrial complex. Yeah, so tomorrow, oh, not tomorrow, Friday. Yes, Friday on FHL, I'm actually going to go through this bill. I was going to do a boomer panel, but I wasn't getting exactly what I wanted with that panel. So hopefully I'll be able to do that someday in the future. But I'm going to go through this bill because we're talking about this as if, well, Biden's talking about this as if this is something that's really going to save the country. This is going to be a game changer. This is going to rescue everybody, just like that American Rescue Plan. And there are things in this bill that people really need to pay attention to. And corporations are still going to benefit from this. Still, of course. Of course. They're not really going to help us. People don't want to read bills, and I get it. They're long, lengthy, crazy. And there's a lot of language in there that honestly, a lot of us are probably like, what are they talking about? Right? But if you ever have the time to do so, I highly recommend that you read a bill. You can Google them. They're online. They're free to look at. I've never had to pay to look at one. I recommend that people do that. Leroy, what's up? What are you talking about, Sabby? You know they only care about platitudes. Once Whitney Houston came out with "Children Are Our Future," they were good. That fixed the issue. RIP to her. Oh my gosh, Leroy, I remember that song. We had to sing that song in elementary school. You guys remember that song, "The Greatest Love of All" by Whitney Houston? We had to sing that. Yeah. I actually don't know why they had us sing that song. Now looking back on it, it was just one of those things we were supposed to do. But it is really, really disappointing that this is where we are now. I have to say, the way that young people have come out protesting, shouting at the top of their lungs that things need to change in this country, I'm very proud of them for doing that. Not say them, but I mean me too. But you know, I'm talking about like people like Gen Z, like younger than me. I'm really proud of them for doing that. We need more of that because it's pretty obvious that if you look at who's in Congress, if you look at who's in the Senate, how many millennials are in Congress and the Senate? I'm not even going to get into Gen Z. How many? That's part of the problem. There's the duopoly, there's the corporations, and then there's also the fact that the majority of people in Congress and in the Senate, they have not experienced the things that we experienced. If you're a part of millennials, man, we got screwed. I'm just going to keep it real. Like, we really got screwed. 2008 really set us back. Thanks, Obama. Shout out to Shadow Band Refugee for the super chat. I did a segment on Frank Analysis and Convo Couch both. Use my work. I don't even care if you cite my work at all. Just watch those segments and read. Oh, thanks so much, Shadow Band. Awesome. I'll have to check that out. Franco and them are awesome. If you guys don't watch like Frank Analysis and Convo Couch, like MCSC, the whole MCSC network, they're like awesome. They're doing like great work. You should check them out. Shout out to the Debate Me channel for the super chat. Dems not negotiating. Manchin said 1.5 trillion months ago. Has not budged once. Squad putting on a show. Manchin doing Pelosi/Biden bidding. Left-wing media is playing accomplice/cheerleader. That is 100% true. Let's talk about that for a second, because one of the things that I've noticed as well, there have been some people on the left that no matter what the squad does, they refuse to call them out. You have to ask yourself why that is. I know why that is. Part of it has to do with having access to people in Congress. If you ridicule them, if you start calling them out, then you could lose access to those people in Congress. That's part of it. The other part of it is money. That's where the money's at. Right now in this game, the money is the middle, or I guess I actually consider this right, But the people who are supporting Biden, the people who are supporting the squad has kind of moved closer to the center now. So since the squad is supporting Joe Biden, people who are supporting the squad and defending the squad and also saying we should commend Joe Biden for these things that he's doing, that's where the money's at right now. And other than that, the money is on the right. The right always had more money than the left. I'm just going to be real. So that is a big part of it. That's why you don't see them calling them out. Shout out to JM for the super chat. We have no heroes. India Walton endorsed by Schumer. So I heard about that a couple of days ago. I was really surprised by that. I did not expect him to endorse her, and that makes me concerned. Because India Walton, socialist in Buffalo, they're really trying to stop her from getting this seat. Really trying to stop her from getting this seat. Because she's a socialist. And Chuck Schumer and AOC and there was another one have come out and endorsed her. And that makes me worry. Because that tells me they're going to try to get her to go along with the Democratic establishment. May not happen right now. May not happen a couple months from now. But eventually, it'll happen. Mark my words. Mark my words. Where a Pilgrim said Walton should be like, thanks, but no thanks to Schumer's endorsement. LOL. That's what I would do. I mean, I'm not going to run for anything anyway, because it's just such a corrupt system. But that's what I would do. But I think because people in Buffalo, they are coming at her so hard. Like, guys, they were trying to remove that position. When they saw that she was leading in the polls, they're trying to remove the position so that she won't get it. This is the country that we're living in right now. But I hear you. I hear you. Shout out to the Red Precarian for the super chat. Beware of the synthetic left. Yeah. Because at some point, it's really frustrating for me too, you guys. When I see people that I started off watching and left independent media that I had a lot of respect for. They were kind of like my go-to channels to watch, especially like during like the primaries and all of that stuff. Bernie 2016, they were like my go-to people to watch. When I see them fold for Joe Biden, when I see them not call out the squad, I'm like, were they always that way to begin with and they just played us? Or did they change to follow the money? Either way, it's fucked up. Redneckomics said, been trying to warn people for years about Manchin, but now all of a sudden he's a problem. He's been voting against all of us for years. Yep. And he takes a lot of money from the fossil fuel industry as well. He's a big problem. People should listen to Paula Jean Swearengin. She had a lot of things to say about Joe Manchin and where his money comes from. How he has screwed over people in West Virginia. Greatly screwed over people in West Virginia. You guys know West Virginia is one of the poorest states in this country. And Joe Manchin is one of the richest politicians that we have in this country. Somebody make that make sense, ladies and gentlemen. Somebody make that make sense. That tells me the money's going somewhere, but it's not going to the people in West Virginia. It's going to him. Eric Thomas said, all Democrats vote against us. It's true. I just told you guys about Obama recently and his craziness, going to Virginia, going to New Jersey. It really ticked me off that, like, you have Princess Blanding running in Virginia. And they act like she doesn't even exist. It's just a hot mess. Just a hot mess. Tony Plow said, Paula Jean is pretty based. Yeah, Paula Jean's awesome, man. Like she's a fighter. You got to listen to her for real. But hearing her story growing up in West Virginia and the things that Joe Manchin has done to that state, and people still elect this guy, they still vote for him. Joe Manchin is not going to help you. If Joe Manchin's doing such a great job, Why are people in West Virginia still struggling? I just told you guys, it's one of the poorest states in this country. Make that make sense to me. Dana said Manchin is part owner of a coal company. There's that too. Another polluter. Another polluter. These are the people that we put into office. That's why it's important that you do your research about people before you vote for them. If I know that climate is really important to me, I wouldn't vote for Joe Manchin. That's just me, though. That's just me. So, as I mentioned, this Build Back Better is just falling apart. I don't see anything being built with this plan so far, and I don't see any better. I think it's a failure to start with. You had all of these things that were supposed to help the American people. Same thing with that infrastructure bill, all of it, all of this that they're trying to get resolved right now. It has fallen apart. Dems are not fighters. They are not pushers. They are weak. I've said this time and time again. And people can say whatever they want to say about Trump. But do you think Trump would go for this? If Republicans were pushing these bills, let's just switch it. If Republicans were pushing this, do you think Trump would go for this? He told them when we were talking about those checks, when we were talking about those stimulus checks, remember what Trump said? Republicans better pass it unless they want a death wish. Eric Thomas said billionaires are richer than ever. Absolutely. And that takes me to my next story. We're going to go into another billionaire who is really, really starting to strike a chord. Elon Musk. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Because this one, Elon Musk has to realize that just because he's a billionaire and he can do whatever he wants, the rest of us cannot. Shout out to Roger Meadows for the super chat. I don't see red flag. I see tough luck Chuck scared. That is true. Chuck Schumer could be scared. Maybe there's something else involved in this that we don't know about or I don't know about. Who knows, right? Thanks so much, Roger. Elon Musk rips Democrats' billionaire tax plan. Here we go. Get that out of the way. Tesla SpaceX CEO Elon Musk ripped the Democrat proposal for an annual tax on billionaires' investment gains on Monday, as lawmakers consider the tax as a way to fund the party's multi-trillion-dollar reconciliation package. Musk, who as of Monday had the highest net worth on Forbes' list of billionaires. You guys hear that? Highest. Replied to a tweet featuring a photo of an email template constituents can send to their lawmakers to oppose the tax. The letter, which is meant to be addressed to a congressional lawmaker, says, I expect you to oppose the Wyndon proposal to tax unrealized capital gains. Let me go down. I anticipate that any new unrealized capital gains taxes will slowly make their way down to the middle class retirement investments over the next several years. It will start with billionaires, then eventually millionaires. Then the modest investments will get hit possibly within a decade, the letter adds. Let me stop there for just a second. Shout out to Roger Meadows for the super chat. West Virginia voters remember Gore 2 Senate's against recon bill. West Virginia voters remember Gore 2 Senate's against recon bill. I have to ask you about that in a minute later, Roger. Thanks so much for the super chat. Musk appeared to agree with the contents of the letter, replying in a tweet, exactly. Eventually, they run out of other people's money, and then they come for you. Okay. And this is from Rick McCracken. He's a CEO of ATA. For USA citizens opposed to the unrealized capital gains tax proposal by Senator Ron Wyden, here is an example of a tactful and diplomatic letter template I made. You can use this or make this post your own. It's important to write your elected reps. And then here's the letter here. I'm not going to read the whole letter. In a separate tweet on Monday, Musk responded to an account that wrote, "I'd rather let Elon Musk allocate capital than Janet Yellen. Who is best at capital allocation, government or entrepreneurs, is indeed what it comes down to," Musk tweeted in reply. "The tricksters will conflate capital allocation with consumption," he added. The CEO's comments come as Democrats on Capitol Hill are hashing out the final details of their spending package, including how to pay for its contents. Musk, who is specifically taking issue with Senate Finance Committee Chairman Ron Wyden's proposal to levy a tax on billionaires' unrealized capital gains. The proposal has gained steam on Capitol Hill, with some lawmakers pointing to it as an alternative funding path in light of Kirsten Sinema's opposition to raising tax rates on corporations and high earners. It is, however, still facing hurdles as some Democrats have expressed hesitation about adding a new tax proposal to the legislation. Additionally, some experts have said there could be difficulties in crafting the details of such an addition. Let me pop out, because I have to tell you something about Elon Musk. You know, a friend of mine is really fond of Elon Musk. Oh, hold on one second. Thanks so much, Roger Meadows, for the super chat. West Virginia voters remember Uyghur two sins against recon bill. Did I skip something? Oh, no, I hit the wrong one. I'm sorry. I'm trying to grab. Oh, here it is. Thanks for the super chat, Shadow Band. Do you realize taxing unrealized capital gains also includes equity on a home? So your house can be seized for taxes, as well as 401k and pension. Thanks so much for the super chat, Shadow Band Refugee. I almost called you Roger. So here's my problem with Elon Musk. You're a billionaire on your way to being a trillionaire. I'm going to talk to you about that in just a second. It is really interesting to me that Elon Musk is concerned about the fact that he may be taxed more. You're a freaking billionaire. How much money do you need? Do you guys know that billionaires, like, you can be a billionaire and you may not even spend all that money in your lifetime? I believe that billionaires should be taxed more. This is something we got to understand here. You have billionaires in this country like Jeff Bezos. They're not paying any taxes, or Amazon didn't pay any taxes last year. They weren't paying any taxes. How is that even possible? Right? Because the politicians that we have in office allowed it to happen. Some of these billionaires have offshore accounts that they're not paying any taxes on. It's not even accounted for because it's not here in the United States. And to hear people like him complain because they may be taxed more. Leroy says the top 1% pays less taxes than the middle class. It's a problem. It's a problem. Echo J said, I believe billionaires should be taxed back down to millionaires because billionaires should exist. That's interesting. But I can't get past the fact that you have all of this money and you still don't. Do you guys know? So let me make something very clear here. Elon Musk likes to invent things, right? He likes to create things, come up with new ideas. Tesla's a good car. When we're looking at electric vehicles, Tesla's probably the best one on the market right now. I'll give him that, even though he had some things he needed to fix with it. He has the whole SpaceX adventure as well. So it's nice that Elon Musk created an electronic vehicle to help the environment, right? But you know what would be even better? Do you know that Elon Musk could cure hunger in this country? Elon Musk could fix homelessness in this country. That's how much money Elon Musk has. Same thing with Jeff Bezos. They could seriously end homelessness in this country, but they're not. And anytime you talk about you want to tax them more, they want to complain. Gregory said Elon Musk pays people to invent things. He probably does. He probably does. Leslie says if our system was different and actually worked for the people, billionaires wouldn't exist. Capitalism is the reason these people exist. 100%. And I know some people feel like billionaires should exist, that it's not right for us to say that someone can't become a billionaire. Whatever. I feel like in your lifetime, you are not going to spend billions of dollars. So it's great if you are in that position and you say, I'm going to use that money to help better the country, to help people in this country. But a lot of them are really selfish. And I don't want people to be confused and to think that if they have a charity, that that's actually this positive thing. Again, charities are top-down organizations. And some of these charities, people do them because they're a tax write-off. Let's be clear here. Some of these charities, people do it because it's a tax write-off. I've had people actually say that to me. Some of those charities, when you donate to them, your money isn't even going where they say it's going. So that's what really bothers me about this, is that you're going to complain about what the Dems are trying to do. I mean, look, I don't like the Dems either, but you're going to complain about this bill. But what are you doing on your end when you have the means, when you have the money, you have the capital to help fix a lot of things that we have in this country? What are you doing? Now, let me show you what is happening now with Elon Musk, because this is really interesting. And like seeing this, it just almost made me want to throw up. It made me want to throw up. Elon Musk is on track to become the first trillionaire thanks to SpaceX. Dude's becoming a trillionaire. Listen to this. Elon Musk is already the world's richest man with an estimate net worth of $219.6 billion. But as if that weren't enough, it looks like the Tesla CEO is on track to become the first ever trillionaire. While Musk has made most of his money from the electric vehicle giant, according to analysts at Morgan Stanley, it's his space exploration venture, SpaceX, that's about to really put him on the financial map. Dude's about to become a trillionaire. Let me pop out. Again, what are you going to do with that money? Leroy says charities are rich people's way of laundering money while getting good PR. Abolish them. 100%. 100%. See, people see this. People are like, you know how many people I hear say, well, Bill Gates is such a great guy because Bill Gates has all these charities. Bill Gates has a charity where he funds like, Black kids like college education. Aww. But why does he have those charities? It's not something they're just doing out of the goodness of their heart. They get a benefit from that. And like Leroy said, and they get the PR from it. Let's keep it real, man. Let's keep it real. Shout out to Delthea for the super chat. Sister Bertha better than you. MF is an obscene word. Don't say it. Me. MFer is a cuss word. Billionaire is an obscene word. Oh, that's a good one, Delthea. That's a good one. Oh, man. Oh, man. So it's just one of these things, like, again, like, I'm so sick and tired of people in this country who are beyond wealthy. And the moment you talk about, okay, we're going to tax the rich more, they freak out as if they can't afford it. That's capitalism. It's absolutely ridiculous. Lawrence said acquiring wealth is okay, but periodically government should declare a jubilee and reclaim and redistribute the wealth. And that is a big problem that we have in this country. The wealth is not redistributed. The people at the bottom, and I've said this before on the show, if you are born into poverty, it is very difficult to get out of poverty. The people who are at the bottom, the people who start at the bottom, have to put in twice as much work. They have a much even harder time to try to get anywhere near remotely close to being middle class, let alone trying to be someone like Elon Musk. It is very difficult. And that's the system that we have in this country because we don't redistribute wealth. You have the people at the top, the 1% that's at the top, they are holding on to all this money. They're holding on to all this wealth. And they don't even need half of it. It's greed, man. It's just greed. I'm going to go into our final story tonight. Now, some of you may know that Kyle Rittenhouse is having his hearing right now. And something happened with the judge, and this really pissed me off. So let's go to this. The judge recently made a comment about the victims, Kyle Rittenhouse's victims. Shout out to the Rebricarian. The post office number where you were born is the greatest indicator of how much you are going to struggle in life. 100%. Always tell people zip codes actually do matter. I can get into a whole nother episode about that, but zip codes actually do matter. They actually do mean something, especially when it comes to public schools, where you're going to go to school, where you're going to get into college. If you get into college, what colleges are going to accept you, your zip code actually means a lot. Kyle Rittenhouse, prosecutors cannot call those shot by Kyle Rittenhouse victims, but looters is okay. Hold on to your seat for this one. This is Kyle Rittenhouse. Those of you that remember, he's the one that went to Wisconsin. He does not live in Wisconsin. He went to Wisconsin and decided that he was going to play cop. So when people were protesting, he decided that he was going to show up with his rifle and that he was going to shoot people if he had to. And he did. Listen to this. Prosecutors in the criminal trial of Kyle Rittenhouse, the teenager who shot and killed 2 protesters last year in Kenosha, Wisconsin, will not be able to refer to the people he shot as victims, a judge ruled, while defense attorneys may be able to call them arsonists or looters. You guys get this? So let me get this straight. The people that he shot, they can't be called victim. That's what the judge has said. But they can be referred to as looters. Let's go on. In proceeding about the ground rules for the upcoming trial, prosecutors and defense lawyers debated whether certain language, witness, or evidence would be allowed. The trial begins next week. The word victim is a loaded word. And I think alleged victim is a cousin to it. This is coming from Judge Bruce Schroeder. He's asking prosecutors to instead use the terms complaining witness or decedent to refer to those shot by Rittenhouse. I can't believe this, you guys. Meanwhile, the defense will be allowed to refer to the 3 people Rittenhouse shot as arsonists, looters, or rioters, so long as they took part in those activities. A decision prosecutor Thomas Binger called a double standard. Let the evidence show what the evidence shows, Schroeder says. And if the evidence shows that any or more than one of these people were engaged in arson, rioting, or looting, then I'm not going to tell the defense they can't call them that. Jury selection begins on Monday. Let me pop out for a second. Shout out to the Red Precarian. The amount of money you have equals the amount of justice you get in any given court. No money, no justice. It's true. I was just talking about this on RT. On RT's Crosstalk, we were talking about dual justice, the justice system in this country, and how the justice system works for people who are wealthy. It works for people who have connections, and it works for people who are of a certain complexion. Most of the time. Let's talk about this story. I wanted to bring up this story because I wanted to show you what privilege can look like. Sometimes when we mention privilege, people think that that is referring to money. Privilege doesn't mean that you are wealthy. Privilege means that you are privileged to certain things that other people are not privileged to for whatever reason. Wealth can be one of them, but so can race. The problem that I'm noticing, they're already trying to make it seem like Kyle Rittenhouse is not that bad of a person. This is the problem here. Yes, he's a teenager. But he's a teenager who got up one night, grabbed a shotgun, went to Wisconsin. Keep in mind, he does not live in Wisconsin. Went to Wisconsin and decided that he was going to play cop. He is not in law enforcement. He was not given permission to do this by people in law enforcement. This was something that was planned. He went to Wisconsin to the protesters where the protests were going on, and he decided that he was going to shoot people. Now, he claims that it was self-defense, but the video footage that I saw didn't show self-defense. He said he was helping take back his country. He said that they were out there looting. They were out there stealing, and he was going to protect the businesses. Now, do you know that when he was arrested, there was GoFundMe set up for Kyle Rittenhouse? And people actually gave him money. This is the kind of country that we live in. If Kyle Rittenhouse was a black guy, a black teenager who got in his car with his rifle and drove to Wisconsin and did the exact same thing, there wouldn't have been no GoFundMe. Nobody would have made excuses for him. In fact, at the end of the day, you may not even known his name. To hear and see so many people make excuses for what he did was disgusting. You had people out there like Ricky Schroeder, who used to be on this show called Silver Spoons. I don't know if you guys remember that. It's like from the 80s. You know how those 80s shows were? Wanted to give this kid money. At no point was Kyle's life in danger. He put it in danger. He put himself there. He was not there already. He decided that he was going to take the law into his own hands instead of letting the police do their job. Now, the police are crappy as well. Let's just be real. But the reality is this. If Kyle Rittenhouse was black and he was walking down the street in Kenosha, Wisconsin, with a rifle in his hand, he probably would not be alive to tell this story today. Let's be real. Now he's at a hearing. And now the judge is sitting up here saying, we're not going to call the people that you shot victims. It's a loaded word. They can call them arsonists. They can call them looters, but not victims. I'm going to tell you guys right now, if this kid gets off, if you thought what you saw after George Floyd was bad, absolutely ridiculous. Swanky said, didn't he get like 1 million donated or something like that? Yes. Like people donated money to him, to a murderer. They gave him money. You'd never see them do that to a black guy. You would never see them give him money. You kidding me? Never. In fact, if it was a black kid who did this, he would already be deemed guilty before he even stepped foot in that courtroom. I bet you the victims will be allowed to be called victims then. This is one of those issues that I feel should not be a left-right issue. And I've said this before. When it comes to these protests, police brutality, social justice, these should not be left-right issues. So regardless if you are conservative or if you are Democrat or if you're in the middle or you're up in the clouds, what Kyle Rittenhouse did should not be okay. You should not be okay with that. And if you are okay with that, I want you to ask yourself this question. Actually, I want you to close your eyes. I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to pretend that Kyle is Jamal. And Jamal goes to Wisconsin and shoots people at the protest. Jamal gets arrested. Jamal gets beaten up by police officers. Police officers say that Jamal was resisting arrest even though he's on the ground on his stomach in handcuffs. Police officers beat up Jamal so badly that they kill him. Does Jamal get that same sympathy from you? No, he doesn't. Because the message then would be, well, he shouldn't have broken the law. Shouldn't have been walking down the street at night with the gun in his hand. He shouldn't have driven across state lines. Shouldn't have been out past curfew. Weren't they on curfew? Well, he shouldn't have resisted arrest. Those are the things that they would say. But when it's someone that is white, we're always supposed to give them the benefit of the doubt. And that is a problem. If it was Jamal, would all of those celebrities have donated money to him? Nope. Shout out to the Red Precarian for the super chat. JFK, when people cannot express themselves by peaceful means, they will resort to violent means. It's 100% true. It happens. It happens. And shout out to the Red Precarian shout out to the Red Precarian for becoming a Sabby member. Thanks so much. It just kind of reminds me of that movie, A Time to Kill. When Matthew McConaughey gave that speech at the end in the courthouse. And he told the jury to imagine that Samuel L. Jackson's daughter, who was black, Imagine that she's white. And that is a problem that we have in this country, where there seems to be a lack of empathy. There seems to be a lack of sympathy for Black people in this country. I'm not talking about people of color. I'm talking about Black people in this country. There seems to be a lack of sympathy, a lack of empathy for Black pain, for Black suffering, for Black struggle. I'm just going to call it what it is. And that's something I want all of us to understand. Because things would have ended up very differently had Kyle been white. Had Kyle been Black. Greg says Jamal gets shot immediately because they can throw him into the armed statistic. Second Amendment for whites only. There you go. There you go. Even when people started asking questions and they said, well, why does Kyle Rittenhouse, why does he have a gun? And they were like, well, he likes to hunt. He lives in such and such town and people hunt. Couldn't say that about Jamal. Excuse me. Couldn't say that about Jamal. Gamer for Life said it's not his rifle, it's his mom's. And that's a problem too. That's another thing. Using someone else's gun. Could Jamal do that? Carrying a gun across state lines. Got up in the middle of the night. Let me go stop everybody in Wisconsin. Now, he says, well, he has respect or whatever for law enforcement. Well, if he had respect for law enforcement, he should have just let them do their job. Isn't that funny? So it'll be interesting to see how this trial goes. I am definitely going to be paying attention. And I'm going to tell you again, if they let him get off, this is going to be, if you think people were angry last summer, oh, just wait. Oh, just wait. Just wait. Delthea Simmons said James and King was shot in Nashville, in my neighborhood in DC burned. It's not just about Kenosha. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's all over this country. All over this country. But I'm just letting you guys know, pay attention. I'm going to pay attention to this trial because I already do not like the fact that the judge is saying we can't call them victims. James Root said, Sabs, law enforcement loves training on the spot. You know, this new generation needs hands-on learning. Ha, ha, ha. Funny, James. Funny. Oh, my gosh. Choosy Heretic says, the Jesuit order does not permit therapeutic thinking. They confuse subjective and objective observation, fail to make an accurate assessment, and never, ever offer proven achievable solution. Ogra said Reagan couldn't sign the bill fast enough to remove open carry in California after the Black Panther Party armed themselves against the racist Oakland Police Department. And that is 100% true. When Black people start carrying guns in this country, all of a sudden it's a problem. Whether they're being used or not, all of a sudden it's a problem. Shout out to the Red Precarian for the super chat. Remember those armed to the teeth ranchers in Nevada? Look at the difference in treatment. If people didn't open their eyes then, damn. It's true. And so when I see people in law enforcement say that they don't discriminate, that they don't have unconscious bias, nah, not quite true, bud. Not quite true. I've seen how police behave differently when they go into a white neighborhood and when they go into a black neighborhood. Because at the end of the day, police don't really solve crimes. You guys ever notice that? I think last time I looked this up, it said that police actually solve like 0.02% of crimes. Police are there to protect capital. They're there to protect the wealthy people, the good neighborhoods, the nice neighborhoods. They're not there to protect poor people. Ask people who have lived in low income neighborhoods, particularly black low income neighborhoods. Ask people how much the police have actually protected them. Because most of the time, police don't really do anything to solve black on black crime. But they will protect the wealthy people. That is why if you are black and you go into a neighborhood, especially an upscale neighborhood that is predominantly white, that is why you might be stopped. That is why they may call the police and say there's a suspicious person walking down my street. And the police will come because they are there to protect the wealthy. They are not here to protect poor people. Again, capitalism. It's all connected, you guys. And if you guys really want to see something about capitalism, you want to learn more about that, I highly recommend that you read about Martin Luther King, you read about Malcolm X, because both of them were anti-capitalist. And that was something that they did not teach us in school. They taught us about Martin Luther King. They taught us about Malcolm X. They made Malcolm X to seem like the bad guy. Malcolm X was the evil one. And Martin Luther King was the good one because he wanted everyone to come together. Not once did they tell us that both of them were anti-capitalists. Not once did they tell us that Martin Luther King actually wanted something like a UBI or reparations. So I highly recommend that you read more about them, not just go by what they taught us in school. And if you want to watch something, I highly recommend that you watch Squid Game. Just finished it like, I think 2 weeks ago on Netflix. Because the underlying theme of Squid Game is not actually the game. It's capitalism. This is what happens in a capitalist society. I'm going to go to some of the comments in the chat. Greg said Philando Castile was shot because he gave a cop a heads up that he had a gun in the glove box. The NRA was crickets. Which is what they tell you you're supposed to do if you get stopped by police and you have a gun in your glove box and they tell you to grab your ID, and that's where your ID is, or that's where your registration is located, to give them a heads up that there is a gun in there. That's what they tell you you're supposed to do, which is what he did. James Root said, well, Miami is full of brown people, so the racism here is a bit more along the lines of, if you ain't Cuban, you ain't shit. LOL. Damn, James. So yeah, let's all pay close attention to this trial and see how this goes. I can already hear the stories they're going to tell. Oh, he was just a troubled young man. Oh, he was just misguided. Because when it's a white person that does it, it's always they were troubled, they were, misguided, When black people do these things, we're just bad people. And Possibly Black said the first gun laws were specifically meant to keep guns out of the hands of freed slaves. Yep. And police came from slave patrols. These are things that are important for people to know, you guys. It's important for people to know how we got to the point we got to in this country. So, if you can do me a favor, please smash that like button, guys. That helps me with the algorithm. It really does make a difference, believe it or not. So go ahead and hit the like button if you can, and sub and share. If you're new, please subscribe to my channel. Love seeing new people here. And I've seen a couple new faces this week. I've noticed that. Not sure what's going on. If you like what I do, you can support what I do on Patreon. You can become a Patreon member. There's different tiers that you can choose from, or you can become a Sabby member on my channel. You can hit join if you want to and become a Sabby member. So those are ways that you can support what I do. Good news is I should be getting a new mic pretty soon, which is great because this one is not the best. And you guys can hear me go in and out sometimes, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I appreciate that. I really appreciate your help, you guys. So tomorrow, I will not be here because tomorrow I have roundtable on FHL. So catch me on Fred Hampton Leftist tomorrow at 5:30. I'll be there for that. And I'll be back on Friday night. And Friday night is my fun stream. So I usually have a beer with my stream. We'll get into some fun. And Sunday, I'm doing a special Halloween stream Sunday night. Yes, I will be in costume. I'm not going to tell you who I'm going to be. It'll be a surprise. So that is all, guys. So you know how we do this. Have a good night. Keep up the fight.